Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you all are well on this Thursday in the last month of the first quarter of 2026. That's real. Like we are on the last quarter of the year, and that means, did I say last? I'm trying to get rid of 2026 already. We're on the first. We're finishing up the first quarter, the last month of the first quarter of the first year, and I'm hoping um, that these first 3 months have brought you some fruitful things. I'm Delia Jackie Hope Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates 93rd District, back in district for the most part. Good morning, Mr. Little. Yep, I'm back in the district. Session is, I'm going to say, I'm using quotes saying that session is over. Session is, I still have to go back to, I still have to go back to Richmond in September. That is how you know brain is gone. Good morning, cousin. So what's going to happen next? Here's my timeline. Remember that this morning time, uh, it is your time. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop them in the chat. This is for you. I'm going to give a quick update just on, my timeline, but please don't make me a talking head. Ask your questions. If I know, I'll try to answer. If I don't, I'll get back to you. It doesn't even have to be about politics. Remember that, like, this is our time together. So use the comments. That's what this is. That's what the morning dew was all about. Making sure that I had a connection point to the community in a real way, at least once a week, because I can't be everywhere, nor can you. But this early in the morning, maybe we can choose to spend time together. Good morning, plants and hoes. I am hoping that we get to do a fundraiser together. Hold on, let me see. Something's going on here. I'm hoping that we get to do a fundraiser together. Like, it is my dream. It is my dream to be able to do something with you. So here we go. Here's where I am at. Session, because this was a long session, recognizing that we have a biennium budget, which means in even years, y'all, we are doing the entire budget for the Commonwealth of Virginia, right? Like we're putting our budget together. So with the new governor who has operating on the budget from the last 2 years from the previous governor, there's a lot of consolidation that has to happen. And if you're not familiar with like how the state works their money, we get three budgets, y'all. The House gives a budget, the Senate gives a budget, and the governor has a budget, and we have to reconcile those two things. Holding in hands, though, that the legislative and the executive branch are two different branches of government, meaning like I don't work for the governor don't work for me. We're co-equals. The legislative branch is still working on getting their budget together so that the executive branch can also look and say, here's what I want to change, here's what I don't want to change. That's why I'm going to go back in April. In April 21st, number one is election day for redistricting, and don't believe the hype. Vote yes, like they playing. I get so sick of people talking about some, Dems don't fight back. Y'all just be like, this is our fighting back. Like this is us being like, you know what? Eye for a fucking eye. We saving this country. So like, I just need folks to understand and be in the streets, letting folks know, like, do not be fooled. Vote yes. Okay. So 21st is election day. 22nd is what we call reconvene. That is when we go back and we have to look at all of the edits or killing of bills that the governor does. So like we finished our legislative work except for the budget. Now it's at the governor, and the governor is going to look through and decide what it is that she likes about the bills, what she doesn't. So she's got four options. She can sign it, she can veto it, she can change it, or she can do nothing. If she does nothing, it still becomes a law. All of our laws are enacted on July 1st. Okay, so I've got election day, which is really important. reconvene, and then the day after reconvene, that's April 23rd, we're going to have what's called a special session, right? In that special session, we're going to go through, we should have a budget by then. So all the people, we call them appropriators. That's like bankers, essentially, bankers and budgeters. They're not actual. I'm just putting that in quotes. All of those people are going to be working from now until then to get to an agreement. And that's on the legislative side. The legislative side. So the House and the Senate have to come to an agreement. And that's the last piece of legislative work that we need to send to the governor in order to be ready for that week of the 21st, 22nd, 23rd in April. That's where your girl's at, right? That's where we're at. So I'm getting myself together. If y'all have questions, and I can still lobby. So like if y'all looking at bills, and this is like, because I've had this happen and he's not on here, but David James is really good about like, hey, letting me know what's up, like with stuff. It's still not too late. If y'all are out here and y'all hearing stuff about bills that you're like, what the hell is that? Like, why y'all do that? Why you do? And it makes sense because I don't know it all. And it makes sense. Let me tell you something. I can still go and lobby the governor's team and be like, hey, look, in this bill, it had this. Like, can y'all take a look at this? Because I think this is something that we should be changing, whatever. Like, I have that right and I have that power to do. Does that mean that they'll listen to my change? No, but I can call up her team and be like, hey, hear me out on this. So do not forget that there's still time to work on some of these bills. There's still time. Okay. So that's my timeline. Right. And then I got to, in between time, I got to fundraise because I got to pay dues, pay staff, get all those things. So I will be hopefully having some opportunities for you guys to support us financially, because I have a deadline of the 22nd for certain things that I'm responsible for as a member of a party. So be on the lookout for that. I just talked about David James. Good morning. All right, let me go back to questions that I see. And I want to remind folks that have hopped in, remember, this is your time. It's not my time, it's yours. So any questions, it doesn't matter what it's about. If I can answer it, I will. If I can't, I'll get back to you. Or if it's one of those questions that I get that are just completely, for shock value, no, because we have healthy boundaries over here. Okay. So cousin, it says, dang, she back in the neighborhood. Like for real. Yeah, I'm back in the neighborhood. Like for real. I'm working this week really hard, and I'm probably going to take next week to decompress. So yesterday I was in Richmond for an amazing bit for women veterans. I was trying to take care of personal business on Monday and Tuesday, like balls that were waiting for me to pick them up when I got home. So I took care of a couple of those, but I'm back in the neighborhood for real. Cousin, did you hear anything while in session that was significant for teachers? Yes, for teachers, there's a couple things. I'm trying to like pull the ones that I think are super important. Actually, let me get because the couple things that I'm thinking of are budget items for teachers. And also thank you for being a teacher in this moment. I just do want to shout out the teachers. It is not, most jobs are not easy right now. But y'all are doing it. I'll tell you, Bill, I was talking with my daughter about last night that has to do with schools. There is a bill right now. Last year we had some legislation that was talking about bell to bell cell phone usage. And for those of y'all who don't have little citizens that are still in the school system, the way they have it is that the kids are supposed to, they can't use their phone from bell to bell. Well, there's some folks who wanted to clarify that. They wanted to clarify all of that. And they believe that the bell to bell meant the first bell in the morning, and then the bell in the last bell of the day. Whereas some schools are interpreting as a bell to bell. So first bell to bell, then in between, and then second bell to bell in between. And so that's where I'm like, I will tell you, they're the biggest. I was like, what's your selling point on this for them being able to interpret it the way it best fits their specific school. And some of them were like, well, we want the kids to be able to talk during lunch. I was like, so no, nothing on like, no, no nothing, right? Like it was anyway. Yes. Let me look. I'm looking for teachers where we are, our main on education, trying to figure out um, where we are on education. Some of the bills we did on education. Know that like I'm so proud of myself for getting up early because not early because y'all I haven't been able to do the morning due because I've had committee first thing in the morning. There's some stuff for teacher licensure. There's a 3-year renewable um, license to teach for CTE. That's something we got for teacher. There are some bills about really looking at the IEP process. Also looking about culturally appropriate health and support services and guidance in schools. We've got a lot of early childhood. I'm looking for the money side of things because, all right, so here we go for education. We have a budget, the major budget items for public education. There's 1.7 billion, and I remember we're still reconciling budgets, so this is just tentative things. State like 1.7 billion dollars in state support over the next 2 years, increase for public education. I believe there's going to be a one-time flexible spending for schools divisions to do with certain capital needs, which will not have to have a local match, meaning this local locality won't have to put money in order to get money, right? But they have to, in order to get this money, they have to provide a 2% raise in each fiscal year for folks. So hopefully you all get that 2% raise. Trying to think of what else. That's the big stuff, I think. There's an additional $117.6 million provided in the caboose bill. Now, the caboose bill is the bill that finishes out the last biennium, because remember, we're building the bill for 26, 27, right? But we're still having we still have a budget that's getting us all the way up into June 1st. Right, excuse me, into July 1st. So until June 30th, the budget, that caboose budget, what we did in the caboose budget was that the state part of the 2% raises 2% increase raise, and some additional funding in our caboose bill for a $1,500 bonus, which I'm nervous about, because we saw this with I got a lot of calls from my school system, Norfolk Public Schools. There's supposed to be the $1,500 raise per person. The school divisions can opt out of that in 2026. But what some people saw in those raises is where they were expecting $1,000 or more, they got like a $300 raise. So like that's a question that we raised. That's a part that we raised to folks, like what is actually going on. Don't love that. Let me go over here to see what I got. Oh, thank you. I love my nails too. Hopefully, Krishan at Get Nails. She is my artist, and I pick a picture from an artist every month, and she puts it on my nails. So this month I did another Bisa Butler. If you've never heard of her, Bisa Butler is an artist that does quilt work. She's a Black woman that does amazing quilt work, and I thought it would be really cool to have her artwork on my nails. So thank you for loving the nails. Over here says, Rashida says, approximately how long will you be in session after reconvene on the 21st? So on the 21st, I couldn't tell you. Reconvene is only a day. And as a matter of fact, reconvene is supposed to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Typically, we get our work done in one day. So I plan to be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But for reconvene, because it does depend on the amendments, the work that needs to be done based off of what the governor puts back into our hands to look at. So, but the April 21st, that actual work day, I do not know how long it's going to be. I mean, I think about the last day of session was this past Saturday, and we intended to be out by noon, right? So because it's Saturday, it's the last day of session, we're thinking we're gonna get out at noon. We started at 10 with the hopes of getting out at noon, and then we didn't get out until about 8 p.m. So like it really is just, it depends on the work, it depends on how it flows. It also it's a situational thing. So for me on Reconvene, Rashida, I have the mindset that I could be there all day, because I know that the next day is going to be special session, right? The 22nd will be special. Excuse me. No, I reconvene. My apologies. Let me re-say this. The reconvene is the 22nd. The 21st is election day. And I need everybody to put that in their back pocket. The 21st is election day for the redistricting. And then the 22nd is reconvene. That's where I'll be going through the governor's amendments. And then the 23rd is special session where hopefully we'll vote on a budget that makes us whole, right? That's fair. That's where we're at, but I couldn't tell you. Good morning, Brian in Pascagoula. What you doing in Pascagoula? What you doing? So good to see you, though. All right. So, David Jane, what does the $237 per day per diem mean when it comes to payment for legislators? I'm looking to defend the payment raise bills. Okay. Thank you for asking. Right. Thank you for asking. So for those of you who don't know, in both budgets, both the House and the Senate budget, there is a pay raise for legislators. And I can tell you, we're kind of in the bubble. This is why y'all are so important to me when I'm in session. People that are willing to email the office, let us know what's going on. But we have started seeing, or someone was like, hey, are you seeing what folks are talking about? You guys are giving yourself a 300% raise, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that is absolute. That is true. So in the Senate budget, it's a raise so that we can make $50,000 a year. The House budget says we'll make $45,000 a year. So I want to just level set, and people know this already. Right now, our base salary for this job is $17,640 for delegates and $18,000 for senators. Those things were usually equal. We have not seen any kind of pay raise since 1989, I think. Let me make sure I get that general. And I don't want to fib on this because it's actually important for the public to understand General Assembly pay. And I can't remember, something happened in the 90s where the Senate ended up going ahead and giving themselves a raise, and the House didn't. And that's why we have a disparity between us making the $17,640 and them making the $18,000. So that base rate salary has not increased since 1988. So people that were elected in 1988 were making the same thing that I make today, whilst being in a different kind of environment, probably not working it full time the way that we do. So when we're in session, when I'm only, and this is the question from David James' class, is what does that $237 mean? So when I go to session, I have to live in Richmond. Right. So I don't have to, I could drive depending on who you are. It's because some people are coming from Southwest Virginia that live 6 or 7 hours away. Like if you live over, I can't remember the mileages, you get a per diem, right? So the people that live in Richmond, they don't get that per diem because they live there. They get the food per diem because we are asking them to come and have to eat in session, but they don't get the lodging. They don't get the lodging piece. That is for that $237. We only get that while we're in session or when we have to go up, because during the year, y'all, I'm on boards, commissions, and authorities. And so during the year, I sometimes have to go back to Richmond to work for a day or I have to go to, I'm like on some Hampton Roads commissions. I have to not do my day job and then go and do work for the Commonwealth, for the folks of the 93rd district. So we only get that per diem when we're working on state work. That's it. Like that's it. When we're out of district or in district for a commission or something, that is again only for food and lodging. There is no way I would be able to sustain this work without a per diem, because that salary, that base salary, it doesn't, it would not cover me being able to do lodging, or I have to do more fundraising to have you all pay for it. One way or another, you all are paying for it because it is our tax dollars that pay us, but it definitely would put a lot of people out the game if we did not have per diem to be able to stay and eat and do the things while we're up in Richmond for that time, or when we're pulled away from our day jobs in order to go do the board, the commission, or whatever it is on behalf of the Commonwealth. The second thing that I'll say about funding that people don't, necessarily have in this conversation is, yes, we get that base pay, but we get a small stipend every month for office expenses. So if I wanted to have an office space, it is not enough to cover an office space. Let me just say, that's why I don't have one. Office space, paper, computer, works, all the things that help me run an office. I get a stipend, and I'm trying to remember what it is. It ends up amounting to it's like $1,000 something a month to sort of, if I that's where I pay my office cell phone bill from. That's where I pay for some of the programs that I use, like StreamYard, all the things that I use to do the office. So if you're looking at, and I'll talk about this next week. If you're looking at a reason to defend it, like we are in a time where we are talking about affordability to people, and you literally have people who are out of the game who will never become legislators because you have to have the privilege of time and money. And I will assure you, there is no way that I do this work if my spouse didn't have a good job. There's just no way. It just doesn't play out. It doesn't play out if he does not have. And also, he even, not being funny to him, he was like, Jack, I heard you guys are giving yourselves some pay raises. And that pay raise would not kick in until 2028, because anytime it's by law, if we give ourselves a pay raise, it cannot be during the time that you have to win an election before you can get that pay raise. So January 13th, 2028 is when we go back in session after the next election cycle, and that's when this would come into effect. So we're voting on it, not knowing whether or not we will be the ones to get it, because we have to win another election to do that. So again, my spouse said, Jack, I heard y'all giving yourself a pay raise, and are you about to quit? Are you about to quit doing delegate stuff? Because we know you like to work for free. I was low-key mad at him for a second, but I get it. It is a sacrifice to do this work. There are some amazing people that I think could run if the salary was in a place where you could run. The hardest part is, y'all don't know this, but I'm trying to help legislators talk about this. Many of us are either unemployed or underemployed, which means we either don't have a job because there's no job that will allow us to take a session, that 60 or 45 days off at the beginning of year for session, as well as take random days off because they can call us back in 48 hours, or random days off for boards, commissions, or authorities, or random days off for the obligations of the office. It's very hard to find unless you're a business owner, or lawyers can do really well. There's certain types of folks that sort of scheduling can work. They can do 2 full-time jobs. Others, they either don't have a job or they have a second or third job that does not pay them their value. So underemployed means you're just not making enough money to live, and it's really hard to sort of have a quality of life. While most of us have hard work, this is hard work for us, but it doesn't pay enough to have a decent quality of life. And I got a light bill just like y'all. I gotta, so I would appreciate people to advocate for some sort of pay increase, and tying it to whatever the state employees are tied to, maybe tying it to cost of living, tying it to something, so that we are not constantly coming back saying, pay us more, because it looks like politicians are just being greedy, when the reality of it is would you be in a job that hasn't had a raise since 1988? I don't know what teacher pay was in 1988. I don't know what the plumber rate was in 1988. I don't, but I know that it's insufficient. And I think the last thing I'll say is, gosh, I had something there. Yeah, access the privilege of time, and yeah, I want you guys to advocate, and I want there to be it to be tied to something that we're not the ones making, that the economics of the world are the things that are making the decision. But thank you for that question. I don't do this for the money, but it would be nice to see different types of people that could get into this work because it paid enough for them to be able to live and legislate. Because that's really not a thing for a lot of us. I feel sad when I can't buy some stuff for my daughter because I'm like, I don't want to be always in my spouse's pocket, but that's a real thing. Okay. I've got some let me look. How about increasing Virginia's funding for environmental education of the Bay States, Virginia? We're last per student. I don't know that we have any bills that I'm about to look though, because that's what we do. To see if there's anything on environment. I think I saw a bill. I'm trying to recall, so y'all got to give me grace. Y'all got to give me grace on just knowing all the things because I don't. I don't. Talking points. I'm getting all the stuff for the. I do know that there was something in there about. Let me look. Let me look. Let me look. Let me look. All right, I'm pulling it up, guys. Just so that if there is something, I can go through sort of of my own cheat sheet of I think there were some things I'm trying to remember. Environmental education. Let me. I feel like there was a bill that. Goodness. What is it? What was it? There was a bill that did deal with environmental education. I'm trying to like pull it from my brain, and I appreciate your patience. Where am I at? Where am I at? Where am I? Where am I? I'll look into it. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I think there were a couple bills about specifically about environmental education. Brian, I'm pretty sure I have your email. I'll look it up and send it to you. I don't know if it made it through. Actually, if I saw it, then it probably did maybe because it could have gotten killed in the Senate. Let me look. I'll look and see if there's any funding for environmental education and try to roll through some of these questions real quick that I may have the answer to off top. Cousin it says, can you say something about how people are going to pay for these data centers, Dominion Power's ability to raise prices, then tell us turn off the lights if it's expensive. Yeah, I know that is super frustrating, right? Like I have a plan. What I plan to do was at least put them, get them in a space where they can explain what they think it is. Because my staff had a little bit of frustrations just with that whole put a sweater on, turn off the lights when, we have folks looking at their bills from the same time last year, seeing that there's a significant increase, even if they use less energy. So I believe that there is more I know just based off of some of the homework that we did this session, looking at the relationship between data centers and our electricity bills and Dominion Energy, that there are some falsehoods out there that we may actually be barking up the wrong tree. And I think that may be by design. I'm going to hold that because what I am doing, cousin, it is while they're doing budget negotiations, there are some real things that could happen in the budget that will further show us as Virginians who's doing what. We've got several bills on environmental accountability for data centers, right? Water, electricity usage, but also I know that there is some missing, and I don't want to say misinformation, but there's some missing information that will shine a better light on us on that relationship between our power bills, data centers, and Dominion Energy. And what I do think is that people in the Hampton Roads in area en masse don't necessarily have a clear, at least from my purview, and I could be wrong, are not plugged into this data center conversation in the same way they are in Northern Virginia, because the data centers are in their backyards. And I want to change that. So if you give me time and space and also allow me to sort of get the information that I need to have to speak with clarity on that, we will be having a very candid conversation, town hall on data centers and your electricity bill. Data centers, Dominion Energy, and your electricity bills. That is the goal. But I am telling you, there's some other things before I start talking my ish. There's some other things that need to happen, which means I have to allow those people to speak, to say that thing, to, turn off the lights, put your sweater on, or the data centers to say, we can give you this money or whatever that is. That has to play out before I personally start having that conversation. Because again, there's some gaps that I've been learning, some things that I'm just like, I can believe this. I can believe this. This is where we are. Okay. C. Nort, are there any bills up for debate to limit and remove flock camera systems? I don't think we voted on anything. I'll tell you, I was an outlier, and I'll tell you the hard work of being a person sitting on the outside on certain bills. I fought heavily against the original flock camera bill because I felt like it was an industry bill. It was a flock camera bill, and voted no for it all the way up until I think the last or final passage. And I'm not 100% sure how I voted on that, but that was something I did. But I do not believe that there were any bills up on that. But I will take a look for you, C. Snort, and just make sure that you kind of know where we're coming from and what we're doing. Okay, if that is helpful. If that is helpful, okay. So I need to write those. I've got environmental bills, and then I've got flock camera bills. I know that there's something on environmental education. I'm not sure there was anything on flock, maybe conversations. And I think you all need to keep those things up, because that is something that we need to be held accountable for, our decision making and allowing certain things to happen, because that is within our jurisdiction. Steve Little, thank you. He says, keep up the work you're doing. I hope we get that raise too. I think it is important. I think it's important to modernize our General Assembly for what today looks like, because you all want the kind of legislators that are putting the time in on you, whilst also folks that you don't just want the privilege. And I'm speaking for myself too. I am very privileged with time, right? Very privileged. The decisions that my spouse and I have made allow for me to be able to do this, or the decisions and the sacrifices that we can make in order to do that with children and all those things. Like that doesn't fall from my mind. I recognize that, but I do want more people being able to engage and not seeing it as this job is financially out of touch and never being able to do it, because as my daughter say, Mom, you can work at McDonald's and make more money. Okay, thank you, lady. Go find yourself some business. Okay, so different subject over here. LIS has not voting, and the siren wondering if that was a statement. Oh yeah, you did have that for me. The assault weapons ban bill. Yep, I did not. The first couple bills, and I'm going to be candid with you all, because that's really the only way to be on some of these things, is that the initial bills I was not okay with. And I had conversations with folks about, what are we trying to address? Are we trying to address lethality? Are we trying to, or are we trying to address incidences? Right. Part of what I assumed this year, just having the majority, having both the House, a Democratic House, Senate, and governor, is that we were going to hold in our hands what was really important and do things gradually and not punch the Commonwealth in the mouth on things. The initial bill, again, I said if we're addressing lethality, then I think that we should talk about magazines, because most school shootings are, there's a pistol use over 70 something percent. And that, but what is being said is valid, that the most lethal school shootings that we have do, or mass shootings, excuse me, do have a larger magazine. I'm trying to think it. A larger magazine with, assault rifle. And so if it's lethality, then I think let's address the clip usage. If it's incidences, right, how often this is happening, then there is a work on a cultural shift that we have to understand. There is a prototype of a mass shooter, right? There is a prototype, but like we can't, there's a prototype for the people that come in and do mass shootings, period. There's no other way to put that. They are typically a white male. And if we're talking about incidences, then there's a piece of that we have to address that is not the banning of assault rifles. Now, I am not, as a person who owns assault rifles, I was trying to be in those conversations initially authentically from a place of let me help you understand if you're not an owner or a user. And also I talk to people, I go to my local gun shop and have conversation with folks. I do these things. So I'm looking at the holes that they're punching in the bill and saying, yo, like we do have old holes. And then the third thing was like, hey, I'm looking at how do we enforce this? How is this and like it is nice to say that. I mean, I'm sure it's nice for people's brochures to say that you did this thing, but when this thing does not solve the problem that you're going after, then what? And that was my initial argument. On top of that, I do not believe in creating a protected class for it. So if you're going to ban it for the general public, you gonna ban it for everybody, right? Unless people are on the job, like unless they are military folks or SWAT teams or whatever, unless they are on the job, then nobody gets it. Because I fear, just as a person who is still trying to hold and be a better student of history, my fear is that the protected class, which typically is law enforcement or military, that protected class being the only ones who can have assault weapons is crazy. It's crazy talk to me, right? It feels threatening to me. And I did not like that. So yes, when I was voting, when I said, I am not necessarily against aspects of the bills, but I'm not for this bill. That is why I voted. That's why I voted the way I did. And I was, vocal about where I stood on the bill, why I stood that way. When it came to final passage, I had to negotiate with myself the greater good, like what is the impact that we're trying to make? What am I trying to do here? But to be fair on the bill, and I'm actually gonna pull up. To be fair, I try to be a good steward and a person who's a gun owner, a person who uses who uses assault, right? Look, who has them, who understands. There were several bills out there that I was like, this is not realistic when you actually have conversation with gun owners. The storage piece, I had to like have that whole conversation about storage, like, yo, I get what you're trying to do, but this is not getting at it. And so it was a hard time. I'll just tell y'all it wasn't a hard time. It was a challenging time, I think, for probably for my colleagues to see a Democrat saying, yo, we should really consider this and this. And it looked like all I was doing was defending guns. And I even had somebody call me, so I didn't know you were an ardent Second Amendmenter. And I was like, no, I'm an ardent Constitutioner. Like I believe in the way that the Constitution has. And so and so when you create this protected class, you're doing the exact thing that the Second Amendment speaks against, right? Like it was a very difficult and challenging time. Again, the last time, and plus, moreover, with that bill, what kept happening, David, because you asked me this before on a thing, and I don't think I got to the question. What kept happening is the bill was coming before us with some edits, like right before it was time to vote, and I was not comfortable voting on a bill that I had not read the edits on. That same thing happened on last passage. It just kept happening, and I wasn't okay with it. And so that's why you see me as not voting, because there was really not enough time to digest these real-time edits that were happening. Also, I did not feel like, I had to use, I'm gonna be fair with you, I had to use another guy to help advocate on the issue in the room so that those points that I was saying were better taken. And I don't think it was because, and I'm not saying this because I think it was because I'm a woman, because that's not what I think. I think that sometimes I'm an outlier and it could just me being an outlier on things, but I do appreciate the folks that did hear me out and like did have questions and did, where the rooms where these things were happening, that they did go in and say we need to think about this, this, and this, because the Republican Party side got up and said some things that were quite frankly true. And I was like, y'all, we have to live with that. But if we can come from a better place of where we use the expertise in the room, and that doesn't matter whether you're in a political party, you're in a boardroom, you're in a classroom, no matter what, we are a culmination of our lived experiences. And the thing that fucks us up is not discerning perception from perspective. So the perspective is like, oh, she is a Second Amendmenter. Like, the perception is that she's a Second Amendmenter. The perspective is, no, I'm a responsible gun owner, and I want to show you how storage is different. I want to show you how these, like, here's where I think we can start. But I felt pushed into doing this right before it was even ready for prime time, right? Like I didn't like it, so that's why I chose not to vote on the bill until the final passage, where I had to weigh some really heavy things, David, and I did, and that's what you got from me. That's what you got from me. That's the real rule. That's the real rule. But thank you for the question and giving me the chance to sort of say, please always hold us accountable. Like you guys, and I'm also thankful that you're looking at our votes. That's another thing that's really helpful, is when you all are looking at our votes, you get to come to us and say, why did you vote this way? Why didn't you vote this way? We have to own those things. Flock systems, thank you. We're going to have some real conversations. Are there grants for windows, solar panels, meter readers? I'm suspect of my electricity bill big because I have gas. Yes. I don't want to say that there are grants, but there are some weatherization programs that are going to be coming down the way. Elderberry, what we did on Tuesday was I brought in the water company, our local water company folks, utility folks, as well as Dominion, just to put out resources for folks who are suspect of their bill. Because the thing is we can get into the conversation of why, which definitely has to happen. But I needed to talk about what you can do now. I needed them to be able to establish what you can do now so we can get into that why conversation. So if you are, I don't know if I don't know if there's stuff for solar, but I have some people I can connect you with. If you reach out to my office, I can try to make sure that I get you those. And I'm going to put my email here. Del J. That's on Instagram. Sorry, guys. At house.virginia. If I could spell, I'd be dangerous. Or type, that's what it is, .gov. Type well. All right, reach out and just ask for those resources, and we'll get the things that we can to you, because I've still got flock and education on my list. Going back over here, thank you. Oh, I was missing some of your things about about us getting paid. So basically, there's money paid to get the work done, and then there's little money to pay to doing the work. I've never heard it said this way, but absolutely. So basically, the way our finances are set up, there is money paid to get the work done, but then there's no money for doing the work. Yes, precisely. Tim Anderson would be smart to be more honest about that part. Yeah, it would be. Like, he's a legislator, right? But I think there's also this class of people that may support things and go hard on the other way because that's what their base likes. I'm not saying that's what Tim Anderson is doing, but what I am saying is he also has one of those jobs, like being a lawyer, owning a gun shop, all these things that the money doesn't matter. And I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but the money, it is not a barrier or anything. It's moot. Like, I had a guy tell me, he's like, oh man, I'm just, we were going out and they're like, he's like, I'll just pay for all of this. I was like, don't do that. You can't be, all it's too many of us. And they're like, oh my God, my session money, this is just extra. This is just, and I said, what a life. What a life. So yeah, there are people that the pay doesn't matter, but remember that there are those kinds of people. And the kind of people that we're trying to elect are more in touch with our lived experience and not here for shock value, not here for highlight reels. They are actually here trying to legislate for better livelihoods. Because you all know, our vision is, I believe in a commonwealth where it doesn't matter if you're from here, come here, or passing through here. You feel safe, supported, and empowered to improve your quality of life. That's it. And I'm in that too. I want a better quality of life as well. So yeah, of course you leave that out. Betsy Carr. Yes, that's what it was. I don't know if you go, I don't know if you know how to check LIS. But I'm not sure. Oh, it was laid on the table. Yeah, I think I remember hearing this one, but there was something else I feel like I saw. If it was laid on the table, then the bill is actually gone. However, I will give you a pro tip. If you have a bill that would have need money, and I don't know if this is one that needed money, Brian, check the budget. When we get a final budget, sometimes the legislation doesn't pass, but they still have allocated funding for it in the budget because the budget trumps everything. So let's say there was a bill that said that you can't watch TV on Sundays. I'm just being plain here. Like, you can't watch TV on Sundays because of electricity bills, blah, 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 blah. But the budget says TVs are allowed to be watched on Sundays, and here's the funding for it. Then you can watch TV. It doesn't matter what the code said. The budget trumps all of that. That's why the budget is our values. That's why we need more people like paying attention to what's in the budget. Oh, it says also there was a proposed budget including watershed education, but it was defeated. It was defeated in appropriations. Yeah, I love that you know this. I love that you know this. Like, you're making my heart smile. You're making my heart smile. I just love when you guys know, just be knowing. So like, some of you, if you don't understand what Brian is saying, about being defeated in appropriations and a bill being here, you got to come to summer school for certified doers. We got to get you up to speed on all of this stuff so you can talk that talk and do that thing, right? Like, we need you. We need you. Oh my goodness, almost 8:00, y'all. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Dave. I'm not going to put that on the screen because I get enough heat, but thank you. I'm trying. It's not that I'm trying to be a maverick. I'm just trying to make sure that we're putting first things first. And I think I had a different understanding of what not pushing the pace was this session versus, I think I just had a different interpretation. This one says, how are Dems going to push the tyranny thing, but take the tool that would be needed to defend against tyranny? Iran's population is disarmed and has no chance to fight back in that sense. So I tell a story and then I'm going to get my butt off of here. But I was strolling with a group of legislators, and someone kind of brought up, I don't know if it was a low-key jab. It kind of was it was a jab about my stance that I had been making about the assault weapons ban. And it was essentially not that I was wrong, but I was misguided. Not even, I don't know that they were trying to say I was misguided. So my counterpoint in a sense was, let's look at Switzerland. Tell me about Switzerland and how their citizenry is armed. How about, South Korea and how they have a heavily armed citizenry, maybe even Israel, having a heavily armed. These are places where we are not getting the news about the same things that America has. America has the problem. American culture has the problem. And what I know as a person who is rested in a lot of different cultures, right, and tried to have an understanding in some way, shape, or form, or be observant, is that culture takes time to change. And gun culture here, American gun culture, is one that perpetuates this silence, this cycle of violence. It does. And if I go to Switzerland, I know. Look, Switzerland don't play. Y'all look this up. They do not play. Their citizens, they have a heavily armed population. Everybody looks at Switzerland as the peace place. Israel, South Korea, and one was like, well, South Korea has to because of North Korea. And I was like, that is fair, but they're heavily armed and they don't have the issues we do. So we got a culture problem. And we did end up having that conversation about the cultural problem that we have, the gun culture problem that we have in America, because I do believe that, again, my biggest fear was creating a protected class. I was not for having a class of people, the same people that are sitting president is trying to invoke to do harm, right? Committing war crimes. Like, this same class of people, you want them to be the only one with assault weapons. It scares me. It scares me. And I told them, I said, this ban, the only thing it did for me is reaffirm that I probably need to get more. Like, I probably need to prepare myself because I know that I'll be able to keep them. So it's hard, because again, I'm trying to be a better student of history. It is hard because we have watched where laws, and this is not just gun laws, where laws have been enacted in a way that have been used where initially they were for the good, but they have been used used against the very people that they were sought to protect. So it just makes me nervous, and I have to be mindful of that. And just remember, I don't do this to do this. I don't do this to do it forever. And I recognize everything I say is held in hands. Everything I said, somebody could clip this, make an ad and say I said did this. That's a chance we take for having open communications with people. But I think that it's important that we also have dialogue about these things in the means that we possibly can. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, my man. All right, last but not least, thank you. I really enjoy representing you all. I genuinely do. I think this is pretty cool. I never thought I would get. I never thought that this is not something that I wanted to do. I think y'all know that I came kicking and screaming, doing this job. I just didn't want to do party politics, and it is difficult. It is the challenge that I thought it was, but I think the influence and power that we get to sway decisions is greater than the annoyance of party politics. I just want to be a good steward in the room. The rooms that you all aren't able to show up in, I do want you to be proud of me. And I do want to be confident in the decisions that I make and confident in the dialogue that I create. But that really only happens when we do this, like when you all are able to understand the process and know what you're supposed to be holding me accountable for. That makes it easier, because I do want to do things out of the kindness of my heart, but that is not logical in this work. Oh, we need pressure. So I need you to get your people, show up, put the pressure on us, because I do sometimes not vote the way I want to, but the way my community wants to, because this is a democratic constitutional republic, and the republic piece says that I am in service of people. I'm a representative of people. So it's not about me. Okay, that's enough for today. You're very welcome. I'm so glad I'm back in the mix. I just haven't been able to do this. Until next time, you all, I'm Jackie Glass, Mama and Navy vet, certified doer and the laced up legislator for the House of Delegates, 93rd District. Truly honored to serve, truly grateful to serve. Yeah, and I hope we get that pay raise. I hope they clip that. Because it will take some of that stress off, and I'll be able to put more of myself into this work, because we pinch those pennies to make sure that we're able to show up, or just for quality of life. All the other things are good. I just don't. It's not a great quality of life always, but I choose it. And thank you for choosing me. All right, be well, be kind to yourself. Keep doing doers because doers get more done. Don't sue me, Home Depot. Bye, y'all.